Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm here today to talk about another movie for 31 Days of Horror 2019, and today it is time to talk about Resident Evil Extinction. This is the third film in the Resident Evil series, and I am working my way through this series for this 31 Days of Horror. Every year I like to pick one series to catch up or just rewatch, and this one's a combination of rewatching and new watching and not necessarily just missing all the later ones. It's been a bit of everything. But this one actually was a rewatch. I did see this one in the theater, actually, back in 2007. Yep. So here we go. Let's look at the details for Resident Evil Extinction. It was directed by Russell Mulcahy? No, not. IMDb link will be down below. Wow. There's no N there, and I want to say N. Mulcahy, maybe. And it was written, yet again, by Paul W.S. Anderson. He's written all of them so far. We have returning cast here of Milla Jovovich. I just wrote Milla. Oded Fehr, Ian Glen, and Mike Epps are all back reprising their roles. And then we have a new bunch of cast members, including Larter, Ashanti, Spencer Locke, and Linden Ashby, who I could not recognize for the life of me when I was watching it. And then when I looked it up after, it's like he was the sheriff on Teen Wolf. Oh my god, he was Stilinski's dad, who is also Stilinski. As I mentioned already, this came out in 2007. So it's now 3 years since Resident Evil Apocalypse, and this still falls under the same genre categories of horror, action, and zombie. Although IMDb also lists this one as science fiction, which I guess is true because they talk a lot about the T-virus and stuff like that. So they explain things through science, which is what makes science fiction science fiction. And I don't know about the science though. Some of the science and tech I was like, not with the T-virus, but just like the other tech, I was like, is that how that works? Is that how that worked in 2007? Is that how we thought things would work in the future? I don't know. Anyway, I gave this one a 7 out of 10 or a 3 out of 5. It did not get a heart. I would have given it a half heart if there were half hearts. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I liked it. This one definitely is the middle one. Resident Evil, the first one, is still my favorite so far, and Apocalypse was really didn't super enjoy that. So, but Extinction was better than I expected and a pretty enjoyable, fun viewing experience. This one we have a desert setting mostly. It's a bit weird because things are a bit distant. It's a bit in the future from where we left off in Apocalypse with Milla. So, okay, spoilers for Resident Evil 1 and 2 and probably 3. It's a series, folks, so it's hard to talk about it without talking about where they came from. And so it's a bit far in the future from, it won't be super spoiler heavy for this film though. But we are in the future from where we left off in Apocalypse, where Milla had escaped the Umbrella Corporation science lab, but she was let go. But now it's different because she is on her own, and then Oded Fehr and Mike Epps are with Larter and Ashanti, and they have like a what do they call it? Like a convoy. So they have a bunch of trucks and stuff, and they're trying to find somewhere. They're staying on the move. That is the sort of the theme of this one. Is that to survive, people need to stay on the move. They thought they contained the virus to Raccoon City, which was the location and setting for location and setting are the same thing. The location and the place of the outbreak in the second film, but it didn't stick to Raccoon City, even though they clamped down on things. It has just now, it looks like it's the whole world pretty much. It has even infected water, and in this film we see creatures infected too. So, you know, it's pretty much you have to stay on the move to stay alive. So we follow Milla separately from the convoy mostly, and then we also have Ian Glen's character. He plays the scientist who's trying to figure out, but he's a little overly, like, he's like, you know, he's not necessarily evil scientist, well maybe, I don't know, but he's the one who both has quite a fascination with both the T-virus and also Milla's character in terms of like that she is uh, reacts differently to things, and that definitely is the case in this film. So okay, I am gonna go into spoilers, I guess, for this film. But yeah, so it's weird because like this one I saw, but when I saw it, I had only seen the first film, so I don't know how much of my reaction was not really knowing what happened in the second film. But they replay it, like we re-see again scenes from the first one, both actual scenes from the first one, and then there is this weird like Alice, like Mila's character's cloned, and then she gets, the clones are put through sort of like the puzzle of like the location of the second film, first film, and second film. It's actually got combinations of both because we have the house and we have the underground workplace of the first film, but then I think there's no, I think we just saw it again in the second movie. So they really replay some stuff, some scenes and some locations, which is a bit, in a way, this is one of those things that I treat this sort of a bit differently because it is based on a video game series. So I can see it with those eyes now. Like having to go through the same cycle again and again is something you do when you play video games, and you keep dying again and again and again, as we see the clones die again and again and again. We don't see that too often. We see it a couple times. So like that, like I can appreciate that a little bit more, like now that at the time I wasn't playing this kind of games, but since then I have, not Resident Evil, but just like games in general. So I get it. I get like why that's fun and why that's interesting and stuff. At the time when I originally saw it, I was just horrified because we see all of these clone corpses just like thrown in a pit, and that's just horrifying. And so that I found disturbing, but seeing it from the perspective a little bit more of a game, I get it more, but it is just disturbing to see a pit of humans. Like that's always it's always going to be disturbing. It should be disturbing, folks. It should be disturbing. So yeah, so it's kind of, so we have, this one is a lot tighter than Apocalypse. We have pretty much 3 settings. Ian Glen's character at this like site undisclosed underground of science stuff, like cloning, and technically he's trying to find a solution, but he also wants to, now that the world is overrun by zombies pretty much, he's actually working towards domesticating them, which is a whole other thing. And so that has some interesting results, shall we say. So we follow him, then we also follow Milla, and we also follow the convoy. It does go a little strange though. There were some things that I totally forgot about, because she has now, I don't know what, like mutated or something. Like she has been infected, but is affected differently by the T-virus, if I'm understanding the story correctly. But she ends up having like honed but like physical skills in terms of her combat, which I don't love. I think it would be nice if her combat skills just came from combat training, but she ends up being sort of like the super fighter because she has the ability and she has been affected. And I don't know if this was always the case. We find out in the second film, but I don't know if it was actually also from the first film too. But then she has new powers in this one. She has like telekinetic powers and some really over the top stuff in this one. And I was worried about them not like going from the story in the second one to this one, because the second one really showed the science folks, the Umbrella Corporation, like watching through her eyes, and they do explain how she was able to not do it, and that's where the tech, I'm like a little like and I think she sort of stays at a satellite range. I thought she sort of like when the satellites are up, she stays out of visual contact, and I'm like, is that really all you need to do? I don't know, the tech was a little sketchy to me, but they explained it, so I'm gonna take their word for it. And that was also her reason by not staying with the convoy, is that she could endanger them, because the Umbrella Corporation is looking for her. They have a better chance without her. So while all of that is going on, we also have like the hope, the dream, the possibility of a place that's not infected, and of course it is Alaska. Let's just like jump over Canada and go back to the States States in Alaska. I'm Canadian, so it's just kind of funny. Like, so it's all set in the States. And Raccoon City was totally Toronto, so it's kind of funny. But anyway, the hope, the dream is that there is somewhere they can go and they find information and broadcast that is Alaska, that is uninfected, that people are okay. That being said, Milla gets taken in. She goes and checks out a report of people saying, you know, we need help, we need help. And that's actually, I found, led to a very disturbing scene, which we often see in survival film, where it's actually humans lure her in and they pretty much just try and terrorize her, and like for fun. And it's like, why would anyone do that? Why do they do that? And it's just, I hate stuff like that. And it doesn't go too far because she kicks butt. But a lot of survival films, post-apocalyptic films do go to this place, especially with gender dynamics, and I always find it uncomfortable. But this one, it only goes so far, and then she just like kicks them. And somehow these, like, you know, humans had some of the zombie dogs, so like they imagine they were able to use zombie dogs somehow. Imagine to work them into every movie just to creep me out. They creep me out. Anyway, so yeah, so this one had a fair amount of action in it. It was not as much action, actually, I think, as Apocalypse, which had just mayhem, which I really enjoyed. This one was a bit more like fight scenes, and there's lots of gun battles, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I like hand-to-hand combat more, so that's mostly going to be Milla in this situation. I did like how some things turned. I did like what they did with Glen's character, even though I didn't, like, they, again, explained it, but, you know, I don't know. So, but I didn't feel like, I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed it the first time. I like the setting a lot better. It's mostly desert set, as opposed to the city nighttime thing. Although if that wasn't Toronto and it wasn't, oh, it was fun to see Toronto in Apocalypse, but like, if it, I don't know, I just like the setting better. I like the costuming a fair amount, which I don't know how much I enjoyed it the first time. And I like the characters. You actually really feel a rapport with the people on the convoy, which is really interesting given a lot of the characters, like half those characters we're seeing for the first time. So that was pretty cool. And I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed like her friendship with Oded Fehr, you know, like, and stuff like that. And some of the, you know, you hit some of the marks you always hit in sort of big action movies or zombie movies. And I think there is a certain amount of fun with that. And I like where this one ended up, because I felt like Apocalypse sort of ended at the same spot as the original, but this one ended up somewhere different, and split focus in terms of who goes where, and a bit more proactive approach, shall we say. So I have seen Afterlife, but I don't feel like where I remember that starting being where this ended, but maybe it does. It has been several years, and I watched that without rewatching any of the movies. So it's very different when you watch a series like all in one go, or all within a shorter period of time, than like years later, you know, you watch the next movie in the theater. So, and this one I definitely did watch in the theater. I'm gonna actually have to, I'm pretty sure I reviewed it on my site, and I was pretty harsh on it, but probably because of the some of the survivalist stuff, because that always bothers me, and the all the clones just being tossed aside. And there is a fair amount of, there is like some nudity in this one, but it wasn't as gratuitous as Apocalypse. This one, it sort of tread the same ground that it usually treads, and so like, and it makes sense, a little more sense and stuff. They still didn't need to have it, but you know, it wasn't as bad or gratuitous as as the second film. So I am looking forward to the next film, which is Afterlife. I actually think I remember quite enjoying it. It's a bit later or sooner to now, so I remember the effects being pretty sharp. This one, they were okay. This one, they start to feel okay, whereas Apocalypse was a little like, ooh, I don't know. And but Resident Evil, the original one, was really good. One criticism I would give to this film, though, I think, is one of so this is huge spoiler, but one of the resolutions to the fight with the big bad ended up having an effect that we've seen before, and I'm not a fan of that. They used the laser grid thing, and I'm like, no, we saw that 2 movies ago and 6 years ago. No, like, it was cool to see again, but I think you need to come up with something new. If it was like someone, and they used it with other characters too, so, but yeah, I think, you know, if that's going to be the big scene, I think you need to come up with something better than that. Now, there was lots of fighting and mayhem throughout, although when they got to Vegas, I had no idea why they opened there was this container that had all these zombies in it. I'm like, why do you have to open it? They're like, we have to open it. I'm like, why? I don't get it. So anyway, so that was something. But generally, it was a lot of fun, and I think we're back on track here. And now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, maybe I will give it a heart. Maybe I will give it a heart. I don't know. Some of the stuff it still bothered me. So I wish you can give half hearts. Half heart. It's very zombie. All right, so on to Afterlife for the next film in Resident Evil series, and we shall see where that one goes. Very curious to see if it holds up. I think I remember liking it. I think so. Thanks so much for watching.